Lieutenant General Randall Reed for promotion to General and to be Commander of U.S. Transportation Command, and Lieutenant General Xavier Brunson for promotion to General and to be Commander of U.S. Forces Korea, United Nations Command, and the Republic of Korea, United States Combined Forces Command. General Reed, congratulations on your nomination. I would like to welcome your wife, Lynn, and son, Alexander. General Brunson, I understand that military service runs deep in your family, so I'd like to first welcome your wife, retired Colonel Kirsten Brunson, Colonel, son Josh, father, retired Command Sergeant Major Albert Brunson, mother, Delphine, brother, Colonel LaHavi Brunson, and sister-in-law Karen, and also brother Colonel Tavy Brunson, United States Army.
Oh.
That's
impressive. All right.
That's a remarkable dedication to the country and the U.S. Army by your family. Thank you. I also am delighted to welcome Congressman Marilyn Strickland from the great state of Washington, who will introduce General Brunson. The committee is grateful to both of your families for their support and service. Let me also recognize the outgoing leaders at Transportation Command, or TRANSCOM, and U.S. Forces Command, Korea. General Jacqueline Van Ovost has led TRANSCOM admirably through a historic set of challenges, particularly in coordinating the international logistics campaign to support Ukraine and Israel. I congratulate her on a well-deserved retirement after 36 years of service in the United States Air Force. Similarly, General Paul Lakemera has led U.S. Forces Korea with distinction, playing a key role in forging the new security pacts between the United States, South Korea, and Japan. The committee is grateful for his nearly 4 decades of service in the Army and congratulates him on his retirement. General Reed, you currently serve as Deputy Commander of the Air Mobility Command, the largest component of TRANSCOM. You are a C-141 pilot by training and have served in multiple transport and tanker units throughout your career. These experiences will serve you well as TRANSCOM Commander. The men and women of TRANSCOM perform missions that sustain the entire Department of Defense. We have seen this clearly through the command's role in providing support to Ukraine and our operations in the Middle East. American troops continue to operate logistic lines and forward operating centers to receive and transport enormous amounts of security aid from across the international community. TRANSCOM's ability to conduct support operations around the globe remains a clear competitive advantage for the United States. However, the command faces a number of challenging tasks. Keeping an eye to the future and the pacing threat of China, we know that any potential adversary would attack our logistics network. This idea of congested logistics will include obvious threats to our forward bases, as well as the aircraft and ships that supply those bases. But it could also include cyber attacks against the information technology system, government and commercial, and possible kinetic attacks against the ports and airfields that support our deployments. There is also the issue of Chinese investments in critical infrastructure like seaports and telecommunications, which may seem like standard commercial enterprises, but which could be leveraged to disrupt or deny access in a time of crisis. General, given your experience with Air Mobility Command, I believe that these are not new issues for you. I would like to know how you would prepare TRANSCOM for such threats to our logistics and how the military services can alter their acquisition programs to take these concerns into account. General Brunson, you are extremely well qualified to serve as Commander of U.S. Forces Korea. You currently serve as the Commanding General of I Corps and have served previously in top leadership positions with the 7th Infantry Division, the 10th Mountain Division, the 18th Airborne Corps, and especially the 1st Battalion, 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment, which you led into combat. If confirmed, you will face a challenging mission on the Korean Peninsula. Earlier this month, I traveled to a number of sites in the Indo-Pacific, including South Korea, Guam, and the Philippines, to assess our military and diplomatic postures there. The threats from China and North Korea are significant, but I was impressed with our capabilities and remain optimistic about the progress we are making. For our long-term success against China, it is fundamentally tied to the strength of our alliance with South Korea. The recent growth of this relationship, as well as South Korea's remarkable new partnership with Japan, can serve as a model for other relationships in the region. We should redouble our efforts to build multilateral networks, including with the Philippines, the ASEAN countries, and the Pacific Islands into security cooperation efforts. General Brunson, I would ask for your views on the partnership between the United States, Japan, South Korea, and other regional partners in addressing China and North Korea's destabilizing activities. The threat from North Korea is real and is growing. To meet it, the United States must continue to invest in the fight tonight mentality alongside our South Korean allies. Indeed, North Korea's relationship with Russia continues to strengthen, and Kim Jong-un is likely receiving technical assistance and lessons learned from Putin's invasion of Ukraine, particularly for North Koreans' missile and nuclear capabilities. General, I would appreciate your view on the current threat from North Korea and how your forces are maintaining readiness through training and exercises with their South Korean counterparts. I saw some of these efforts firsthand during my visit as the combined command was wrapping up its annual Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise. Gentlemen, if confirmed, you will lead TRANSCOM and U.S. Forces career at a consequential time. We thank you again for your continued willingness to serve. I look forward to your testimonies. Now, let me recognize the ranking member, Senator Roger Wicker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, the committee is considering nominees for two crucial commands. Lieutenant General Reed, you've been nominated to be Commander, United States Transportation Command. If confirmed, you will be responsible for executing TRANSCOM's mission of providing logistical support to combatant commanders around the globe. In your current role as Deputy Commander of Air Mobility Command, you have seen firsthand how logistics are often the determining factor in a fight. We once considered logistics to be a minor factor in operational planning, but now we know better. We understand that logistics are essential to our ability to deter and defeat our adversaries. There is one way to ensure that those logistics capabilities are ready when needed, and that is by properly resourcing the department. We need our senior military leaders to tell us the hard truths about what they need, even when doing so contradicts the president's budget. And you and I spoke about this when we met person to person. That transparency is so important that we made the unfunded priority lists a statutory obligation. This will be your statutory obligation. I'm very troubled, as I told you, that TRANSCOM has not requested a single unfunded requirement for the last 3 fiscal years. Lieutenant General Reed, if confirmed, I would look to you to begin performing that task. We're not asking you to make anything up. We're just asking you to tell us what we need on contested logistics, particularly in the Western Pacific. We need you to tell us what you need to get up to speed. Now, Lieutenant General Brunson, you've been nominated to be Commander of U.S. Forces Korea. My uncle served in Korea. 2 generations later, my son has served in Korea. Our alliance with the Republic of Korea dates back to the early days of the Cold War and the Korean War, when the communist threat from the Soviet bloc and China turned into a hot war on the Korean Peninsula. Our bond with the Republic of Korea remains even as the threat environment changes. The danger from North Korea continues to increase with each passing day. Kim Jong-un has been developing and building more nuclear weapons, cruise missiles, and other capabilities, all of which pose an increasing threat to the United States and our allies. Moreover, we've seen troubling evidence that North Korean-made weapons have been used against innocent Ukrainians and Israelis. To ensure that we maintain stability on the peninsula, we need to start thinking about what capabilities the United States and South Korea need. We should also explore ways to reduce Kim Jong-un's ability to arm the axis of aggressors. General Brunson, I look forward to hearing your thoughts about these troubling trends and how we can mitigate them. Particularly, I look forward to hearing you discuss an issue that the chair raised a few moments ago about what lessons both our friends and our adversaries in the region are learning from what's going on in Ukraine. So to our nominees and their distinguished families. Thank you for being here today and for their service to our country. And thank you, Representative Strickland, for being here also.
Thank you very much, Senator Wicker. Now I'm pleased to introduce Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland, Washington's 10th District. Congressman Strickland is a member of the House Armed Services Committee and represents Joint Base Lewis-McChord. Congresswoman Strickland, please.
Chair Reed, Ranking Member Wicker, it is my distinct honor today to introduce my friend, Lieutenant General Xavier Brunson, who has been nominated to the rank of General and Commander of U.S. Forces Korea. Lieutenant General Brunson currently serves as a Commanding General of America's First Corps at Joint Base Lewis-McChord, also known as JBLM. I'm currently in my second term in Congress representing the nearly 40,000 service members that call JBLM home, and General Brunson has been a key partner to improve the lives and livelihoods of service members and their families. General Brunson and I have worked hand in hand to increase the quantity and quality of housing at JBLM, including with the recent groundbreaking of the first of its kind barracks project. We've also worked to address childcare shortages, support military spouses in finding employment, ensuring the readiness of the soldiers and airmen at JBLM. As one of the first Korean American women elected to Congress, I can think of no one better to take command of U.S. Forces Korea as we continue to deepen and strengthen our partnership with the Korean Armed Forces and government. I was born in Korea. My father served in the Army, and my family ended up in Tacoma, Washington, at Fort Lewis at the time. So I am very deeply, deeply proud to be here today. First Corps is laser focused on the Indo-Pacific, participating in exercises and activities in 21 countries, including Australia, Japan, and Korea. First Corps is a key component of the Army's and U.S. strategy to ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific in coordination with our partners and allies. Prior to serving as Commanding General of First Corps, General Brunson was previously the Deputy Commanding General of I Corps, Commanding General of 7th Infantry Division at all JBLM. A commissioned infantry officer, General Brunson has served several deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. General Brunson, as you mentioned, comes from an Army family. He and his family serve the country every single day. His father is a retired Army Sergeant Major who served in the Vietnam War. His brothers became Army officers as well. His wife, Kirsten Brunson, is a retired colonel. General Brunson and his family are the best of us. They are the best of America. General Brunson has been an exemplary partner to me, my staff, and the entire state of Washington, and I know he will represent the United States with distinction as Commander of U.S. Forces Korea. I look forward to his swift confirmation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Representative Strickland. General Reed, your opening statement, please.
Chairman Reed, Ranking Member Wicker, thank you for the opportunity to appear before this distinguished committee and the American people. I am humbled to be the President's nominee to command United States Transportation Command and equally grateful to both the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs for their confidence and support. It is also a great opportunity to testify with my friend, Lieutenant General Xavier Brunson. I also want to thank the current commander of U.S. Transportation Command, General Jacqueline Van Ovost, and her spouse, Alan Frosch, for their celebrated leadership of U.S. Transcom and their friendship throughout the years. General Van Ovost has an envious relationship with this committee, and if confirmed, I will build upon that trust. My joy stems from family. Here today, providing me strength, is my bride and best friend, Lynn, who successfully balanced a professional life with maintaining as much stability as possible for our 3 sons. I am grateful Alexander, seated with us, was able to take a break from his passion as a flight instructor to support Dad. My pride in my young men is directly related to Lynn's devotion, which extends far beyond the Reed home, as countless service members and families of every service continue to benefit from her care and advocacy. Endless devotion also describes my parents, both who are watching this morning. Thank you both for the values I've used to inspire and support so many since the 1980s. I also benefit from a tradition of military service, with family members surviving action in every major conflict since the Great War. Raised the son of an active duty airman and Vietnam veteran, as well as growing up in a joint community just south of here in Hampton Roads. That early exposure to all military branches set an important foundation for my own military service, especially during assignments supporting multiple combatant commands with national and international consequences. Foundational assignments include a tour as a joint logistician in the Pentagon, grappling global issues, as well as a senior defense official and defense attaché appointment, resolving regional challenges at the nexus of multiple combatant commands, government agencies, allies, and partners. If confirmed, I am committed to bringing that experience and more to bear, committed to empower the men and women of U.S. Transcom in partnership with commercial industry, allies, and partners to remain the most responsive and strategic mobility capability the world has ever seen. The responsive and strategic nature of U.S. Transcom, while vital to our national security, faces increasingly capable contests and disruptions in the air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace domains. Despite contests and disruptions from determined and sophisticated adversaries, if confirmed, I will ensure U.S. Transcom's contribution to strengthen a lethal joint force. This will include, but is not limited to, continuing pursuit of an ever-ready, modernized sea lift, airlift, and air refueling fleet. If confirmed, I will also prioritize cyber resilience for both U.S. Transcom and other members of the Joint Deployment and Distribution Enterprise. Chairman Reed and Ranking Member Wicker, if confirmed, I cannot imagine a greater honor than to work with this committee, our like-minded allies and partners, our commercial industry professionals, our services, and our combatant commands to ensure together we deliver. Distinguished members, before we transition to questions, I would like to take this opportunity to wish my mom happy birthday. Thank you.
Very, very smart declaration there. You're in good shape with home. So, General Brunson, your statement, please.
Chairman Reed, Ranking Member Wicker, and distinguished members of the committee, I'm honored to appear before you today. Thank you for the opportunity to testify and, more importantly, if confirmed, to continue leading our nation's men and women. I would like to thank President Biden, Secretary Austin, and General Brown for their trust and confidence. And I'm honored to testify today alongside Lieutenant General Randall Reed, the nominee for the United States Transportation Command. Transcom is a critical enabler in the Indo-Pacific, ensuring our armed forces have the resources they need when they need it. I would like to thank my family for their love and support throughout my military career. My wife of 30 years, Kirsten, a retired Army colonel, Army judge, member of the Army Women's Hall of Fame, and tireless advocate for Army families, is the best officer in our family. She saw me in this chair long before last week's call, asking me how long it would take me to get to DC. She's my confidant, my loving critic, counselor, and heart. Our family is because of her. To my children, Rachel, Rebecca, and Joshua, thank you for your continued support. Being your dad is the thing I'm most proud of. Joshie, you can tell me thank you later for pulling you out of school so that you could be here to support me today. I love you. I would like to thank my parents also with us today, retired Sergeant Major Albert Brunson and my praying mother, Delphine Brunson. They raised 3 sons to understand the importance of God, family, and service. My father served in the Army for 27 years, including 2 tours in Vietnam and service in Operation Desert Storm. In 2018, I finally eclipsed my father's record of static line jumps. His service inspired me and my brothers to dedicate our lives in service to our nation. I'm pleased to have in attendance today my much shorter brother, Colonel Lahavi Brunson, who is currently serving on the Army staff, and his wife, Karen. Equally as short as his twin, Colonel Tavi Brunson, who is also here with us today, currently serving at U.S. Army Central Command. His wife, Cynthia, had to go back to Texas to care for her sick sister, or she would be here today as well. Our family carries a legacy of over 130 years of service, and I'm proud to be a part of it. There are a host of mentors, friends, and soldiers, far too many to mention here, to whom I sincerely say thanks. Having spent the last 5 years focused on the Indo-Pacific, I can tell you that the environment is both complex and dynamic. I'm aware of the threat South Korea faces and fully understand my role, if confirmed, is in ensuring a constant state of readiness for all forces on the peninsula. Most assuredly, I understand the need to defend the homelands. North Korea's rapid advancement of its nuclear and missile capabilities, combined with its stated ambition to exponentially expand its nuclear arsenal, is the single greatest challenge facing the tri-commands. The phrase "fight tonight" is not just a saying, but a reality for the men and women serving in Korea. The Korean Theater of Operations is a combined, joint, multi-domain, and interagency operating environment. If confirmed, I will ensure all service members and civilians within the three commands are trained and equipped to respond in competition, crisis, or conflict. I fully endorse the four long-standing United Nations Command, Combined Forces Command, and United States Forces Korea priorities of sustaining and strengthening the alliance, maintaining the armistice, transforming the alliance, and sustaining the force. I would like to wish a happy Chuseok to Koreans around the world, and most especially to the people of the Republic of South Korea. Finally, on behalf of Kirsten and my family, I would like to recognize General Paul LaCamera. Having served in both war and peace at his side, I can say with confidence that he has led the tri-commands in Korea remarkably. To him and his wife, Teresa, thank you for your loyal and dedicated service to our nation. Thank you again, Chairman Reed and Ranking Member Wicker, and members of this committee for this great opportunity. I look forward to your questions. Kachi Kapshida, under one flag, fight tonight.
Thank you very much, General Brunson. I have a series of required questions that all nominees must answer. You may answer in unison. Have you adhered to applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest?
Yes.
Have you assumed any duties or taken any actions that would appear to presume the outcome of the confirmation process?
No.
Exercising our legislative and oversight responsibilities makes it important that this committee, its subcommittees, and other appropriate committees of Congress receive testimony, briefings, reports, records, and other information from the executive branch on a timely basis. Do you agree, if confirmed, to appear and testify before this committee when requested?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you agree, when asked before this committee, to give your personal views, even if your views differ from the administration?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you agree to provide records, documents, and electronic communications in a timely manner when requested by this committee, its subcommittees, or other appropriate committees of Congress, and to consult with the requester regarding the basis of any good faith delay or denial in providing such records?
Yes.
Will you ensure that your staff complies with deadlines established by this committee for the production of reports, records, and other information, including timely responding to hearing questions for the record?
Yes.
Will you cooperate in providing witnesses and briefers in response to congressional requests?
Yes.
Yes.
Will those witnesses and briefers be protected from reprisal for their testimony or briefings?
Yes.
Thank you very much. General Reed, you have a series of issues that you'll have to confront, and one of them is the cyber protection of your forces, and that in many respects is a reflection that most of your reserves are civilian platforms, both merchant ships and aircraft. And what do you intend to do to ensure the cyber security of these, particularly these private entities that come under your command?
Thank you, Chairman. Logistics by nature is an information-heavy activity, and while we TRANSCOM if confirmed, and from an air component perspective. We plan a lot on the secret side, but when we share the information and we come together, a lot of that is not on the secret side. And so sharing that information requires that we have ways to protect the information. TRANSCOM, I'm aware, does a lot to monitor its information networks, but at the same time, it also partners very well with the commercial entities. If confirmed, I'll make sure that TRANSCOM continues its cyber surveillance and at the same time offers the forum through very proactive working groups to invite the entire community to come together, share best practices, and also as we write contracts for them to support us, that the baseline for that includes things that they need to do to protect their information.
Well, thank you. Another aspect of TRANSCOM, as I alluded to before, is if we go and fully mobilize, you'll have to call merchant ships that are now in commercial service into TRANSCOM. You'll also have to call in aircraft. Is there a question in your mind about the sufficiency or the capacity of the fleet we could generate in a short period of time?
Senator, for the commercial partners that they have, they are avid volunteers to serve with us each and every day as we operate around the world in competition. They are there with us, and they provide a tremendous amount of the capability of our ability to move. In the shift from day-to-day ops to crisis and conflict, we have some emergency programs with which they could surge. We also have in TRANSCOM, as I see it from the air component perspective, the mobility requirements capability study, which actually helps inform us what sufficiency we need. And Senator, I'm here to tell you from what I've seen, it's there.
Thank you. General Brunson, a recent trip to South Korea, I had the opportunity to sit down with President Yoon, who's done an extraordinary job of pulling together with his Japanese counterpart a working relationship that had never existed before, and also reaching out to the Philippines and other nations. We have also, with the declaration that President Biden and President Yoon announced at Camp David, going into the sharing of real-time information with the South Korean forces and planning multi-year trilateral exercises. So could you elaborate on your sense of where the relationship is going? And my sense it was vastly improved.
Yes, Chairman. I believe the relationship at present is trending upward strongly. As I look in my previous experience as a Corps commander, what we've been able to do in terms of going into multilateral exercises, securing the information that's being shared, whether that be through technological means, using sensitive but unclassified, or using YubiKeys on a mission partner network or environment, what those things provide for us is an opportunity that hasn't existed before. Some of the things that General LaCamera has done to drive from the military element of power have allowed us to draw closer together because we're able to share information across these multilateral exercises. And what that's really doing, Chairman, is it's helping us to set the environment. And so what I see as a charge to myself, if confirmed, is to continue to find ways to bring not only the northeastern piece of Asia together, but to also bring in the South, having participated in exercises from India to Indonesia to Australia and points beyond, that there are willing allies that are in the region at this time. Sir.
Thank you very much, General Brunson. Thank you both, gentlemen. Senator Wicker, please.
Thank you. Lieutenant General Reed, let's talk about unfunded requirements. I promised that I would ask that. For the last 3 years, TRANSCOM has failed to submit a single unfunded requirement. Yet, it proceeds to submit reports and studies outlining shortfalls within its components. So, first of all, if confirmed, will you submit any unfunded requirements for components such as Air Mobility Command or others that directly support TRANSCOM's ground and sea lift elements?
Senator, thank you for the conversation yesterday. And as we discussed yesterday, I will be a fierce advocate to get all of the equipment that our folks need. And I know that there are several ways to pursue that. And absolutely, Senator, if unfunded requirements is the way to get the force equipped, I will certainly do that.
Okay, well, and just along those lines, it is a statutory requirement that this Congress and this committee expects. And so along those lines, you agree that underfunded requirements are important in providing information to this Congress about what the joint force needs?
Absolutely, Senator.
Okay, let me ask about movement of household goods. There's a what do you know about the agreement between HomeSafe and Transcom about how that's going, and do you think it's going to work better?
Senator, I will tell you that having moved in excess of 15 times, having a system that works is very important. And if confirmed in Transcom, I'll have an opportunity to make sure where there's room for improvement, we will absolutely get that done. I will also tell you that there are some family members behind me on both sides who will put pressure on me to make sure that we actually get that done. What I do know of the contract so far is that it initiated this spring, about April. There were some moves that were executed under the contract during the peak period this summer in some locations. From what I understand, Senator, for those, things have gone well. The feedback is strong, not only from the families who have moved, but also from the transportation carriers who had an opportunity to participate that did not before. Going forward, we will have to be careful with that in terms of the speed of the transition. But now that we have a single entity that sits over top of that, they do have a capability to integrate a little bit better on the national scale and on the local markets as well. And so as long as we're very careful in the speed of the transition, Senator, I think this shows tremendous promise.
Okay, and we'll be visiting about that in the next months. Speaking of family members, General Reed, do you think it's fair for General Brunson to talk about the height of his twin brothers? Since they came in a package of two and he's only one, it seems to me his family got two for the price of one. I'll withdraw the question. What lessons are we learning in watching the Ukrainian conflict, Russia's illegal war of aggression against Ukraine, and what lessons are our adversaries north of the DMZ learning?
Ranking Member Wicker, I think that one of the things that we're learning is the need to move beyond current means of production. For example, the need for munitions and lethal aid from Russia outpaced their ability to produce those things. So they found a proxy to provide them arms and ammunition. I think that what we also are learning from this is that one of our strengths that's playing out over a wide variety of engagements around the world, just falling short of full-on war, is that our United States forces are part of a partnered network of friends, allies, and partners that make us strong, where we can look for capacity and capabilities amongst our partners. The Korean Peninsula is a great example of that. For 70 years, this alliance has stood, and it is an example for all other nations to look toward. When you look at sort of authoritarian collusion that occurs between China and DPRK and Russia and Iran and others, they don't have the same benefits that we have.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, Senator Wicker. I associate myself with your comments about the General's brothers. They are men of normal height, and I applaud them. Senator Shaheen, please.
Congratulations, General Reed and General Brunson, to both of you and to your families. And thank you so much for the service of each of you and all of your families. And I especially appreciate your senses of humor, which, as you can see, is shared by the committee. General Brunson, I want to pick up on Senator Wicker's questions about munitions and the support from North Korea to what's happening in Ukraine. There's now photo evidence of that. I understand there's a British report that also found Western dual-use components in the missiles that were examined. So how concerned should we be about the fact that we still have that sort of diversion of our Western components going into the war zone being used by our adversaries?
Senator, I think we ought to be concerned. And if confirmed, it would be my hope that we would be able to take not a whole of government approach at sort of tracking these things where they're going, but a multi-element engagement, which would be more targeted. So if confirmed, what I would do is I would dive into the IC to see where these components were made, where they're going to. The benefit that the Tri-Command has is that there's UN command that's a part of this. And a great many of these nations, I would be supposing here, giving you something that I believe could be tied with those means of production. So I believe that it would be my job as the, if confirmed, as a USFK commander, to not be so concerned with what we can see, but the things that we don't see. In another setting, I would be more than happy to talk to you about some of the things that I know that General LaCamera is working on right now in that regard to help us to more easily be able to sort of illuminate the network that exists for those parts, ma'am. And I think it's best that I stop there.
Thank you. I would appreciate that opportunity. General Reed, thank you for taking time last week to come and meet with me. One of the issues that we discussed was the Air National Guard Bureau's intent to re-level programs of record that's going to have an impact on the 157th Air Refueling Wing at Pease Air Force Base in Pease National Guard Base in New Hampshire, former Air Force Base. And we also discussed the importance of aerial refueling capacity, which you know so well and cite in your testimony. As the only KC-46 refueling wing in the nation to reach initial operating capacity, do you agree that the 157th plays a significant role in meeting TRANSCOM's requirements?
Senator, absolutely. Very fine unit. In my commands in the past across the world, they were very quick to respond when called upon and love to serve with them. Also want to point out that we're looking forward to their service this fall as they deploy. So out of the 8 airplanes that are there, 4 will go forward and they will do a fine job for us.
Thank you. The proposed releveling initiative will decrease the 157th's ability to support TRANSCOM by our estimation is 23%. Are you concerned about losing that kind of capacity, especially as you think about what we may need to do in the Indo-Pacific?
Senator, I'll share with you that the air refueling fleet is incredibly stressed every day as they support every combatant command around the globe. Any capacity that we can get, I'll absolutely call for in need. If confirmed, I will have conversations with, hopefully, if confirmed, Steve Nordhaus to make sure that he and the force can provide the nation everything that we're asking for.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if confirmed, will you commit to visiting New Hampshire and to getting a briefing on what's happening with the 157th?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. I want to go back, General Brunson, to the player that we haven't really talked about so far this morning, and that is the PRC and China's reaction. How concerned are you about the aggressive behavior of the PRC in the South China Sea, and what kind of an impact does that have on your responsibilities as you would take over in Korea?
I think we should share the concerns of our partners in the region. And we ought to look at this much like a balloon. If you push on one area of this balloon, there's going to be an opposite reaction somewhere else. I think that if confirmed, my job is to hold the peninsula fixed but dynamic because of all the things that are going on in the region. And again, I would point back to that authoritarian collusion, that we be able to understand best what is troubling our friends, partners, and allies in the region. Senator, as you know, there are a host of mutual defense treaties that exist in the Pacific. And folks are counting on us to assure them of not only our presence, but our willingness to act. And I think that what I'd have to do, if confirmed as a USFK commander, is to be able to separate actions from actors and be able to go to the Indo-PACOM commander and talk to him about operations and activities and investments that are being made in the region, for him to even have a conversation with the Secretary of Defense on our policy toward actions to be taken in the region. I also find myself witting to the fact that there are things that we don't see right now. But these things have to be looked at from the perspective of tying in more of the IC to things that we were doing. To your earlier question, Senator, what I said was we've got to be targeted within our own elements of national power, to say it quite simply. And that targeting means that it's not enough to just say the whole of government. There are elements of power that ought to be brought into play here that I think could help us deal with any of those situations, be it in the northeastern corridor or through the southern corridor or even in the center.
Thank you. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, Senator Shaheen. Senator Fisher, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, General Reed, General Brunson, and welcome to your families today. As the grandmother to 2 sets of twins, I'm on their side. General Reed, in a potential conflict with a peer adversary, our forces will likely have to face a contested logistics environment, which implies that Transcom must account for attrition. This would be unlike anything we've seen since World War II. If confirmed, how would you ensure that mobility forces are appropriately training to realistic threats in these Transcom exercises that are needed?
Thank you, Senator. If confirmed, one of the first things that I'll do is I'll get with the planning shops to take a very deep look into the plans and what we're doing to plan with the theaters to see what their challenges are and what adjustments we may have to take. In addition to the planning, what's important next is to make sure that we have realistic training as well. I will share with you that from an air component perspective, part of what we've been doing is participating in a series of exercises, one of them being the Bamboo Eagle, which takes place on the West Coast. And in this, we simulate a contested environment, and we've learned several things that are important. If confirmed, this will be a good platform to bring to not just airlift and air refueling, but to sea lift as well.
If confirmed, how would you increase the interoperability with our allies and partners?
Senator, first and foremost, I would depend primarily on the theater combatant commanders who already have the relationships with them. 2, I would make sure that we are involved in their planning and then offer our forces to partner with them as well.
Thank you. General Brunson, do you agree that the United States must remain unequivocal in our commitment to extended nuclear deterrence with our ally, South Korea?
Senator, I believe that one, there's policy on all these things, but what I do believe is that the NCG has gone to great lengths to bring us closer to be able to talk about a lot of these issues. I think that denuclearization of the peninsula, it accounts for several things. One, in terms of classic deterrence, we have to continue to assure our partners that we are there. I think that it's everything from protection to sustainment to even our posture in the region. Understanding the fact that there will be continued discussions, but some of those discussions are sovereign issues, ma'am. And what I think that we've got to do is to trust the established frameworks that are there, like the NCG, in the directives that come from that as we look to assure our partners so that there not be further discussion about those things, ma'am.
We've been seeing, I think, a lot of destabilizing actions from North Korea. Recently, they released images of their uranium enrichment facility. They did that last week. How would you go about reassuring South Korea that our nuclear umbrella remains firm for them?
Ma'am, sometimes the best way to do that is to recognize where the adversary is maneuvering at. I would, in my own military estimation, say that he was maneuvering in the information space. And so making a careful assessment so that we not have miscalculation. I think that that's where I would start at, ma'am, is to come close to our partner, our ally in Korea, and explain to them what we were seeing. And then trust, again, our diplomats and others to continue to have higher level discussions, but at its base, it's being able to assure our partner and ally that we're there and they can exist under not only a conventional umbrella, but a nuclear umbrella on the peninsula.
We've had a recently established group formed, the Nuclear Consultative Group. Do you see that as an avenue that you might be able to use in providing the assurances that our allies in South Korea need?
Yes, ma'am, and please forgive me for using an acronym. I am an Army man, and so I kept saying NCG, because I didn't want to wrestle with consultative group. But yes, ma'am, that would certainly be an avenue that's available. And I think that when we use constructs like the NCG, it relieves us of this almost deleterious effect of just deciding that one letter is going to get it done by all. And I am trying to caution myself on saying whole of government because it's not targeted, it's not precise, words matter. And we ought to talk about the multi-element engagement that's necessary to ameliorate a host of problems that we see not only in the peninsula, but around the world, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Fisher. Senator Kane, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations to the nominees and your families. You're both very well qualified for these positions. General Reed, this is the first time we've had a hearing with relevant folks before us since the DoD canceled the Joint Logistics Over the Shore effort to do the humanitarian pier into Gaza. And I don't really want to get into too much questioning about it, but I do want to say I hope there's going to be an after-action review of that effort, what worked, what didn't, and what can be improved, because we're going to have to do joint logistics over the shore in all likelihood in the future. And everyone on this committee noticed some good, 20 million pounds of aid delivered into Gaza. That was a good thing. It was also good that some people served under very difficult conditions to do this work, including the 7th Transportation Brigade out of Fort Langley, Eustis. But there was also real problems. There were problems with conducting the operation due to weather. There were problems with conducting the operation due to a challenging security environment. There were problems with conducting the operation because of challenges matching up with humanitarian aid groups on the shore. In my view, the biggest problem was this. This all could have been done by Israel. We've stopped the humanitarian aid pier, and now humanitarian aid is going into the Ashdod port in Israel and being delivered by land to Gaza as it was before October 7. The fact that the United States needed to spend $230 million, that was the estimated cost up front. I don't know what the actual price tag was, and deploy people, I think about 1,000 U.S. troops were involved in this, when the aid could have been delivered through an Israeli port and through land crossings that were being used extensively and now are being used to deliver aid, strikes me as the U.S. wanting to do the right thing, but doing something that, frankly, someone else should have been doing. And so the only question I would have for you is there some kind of an after-action study that's being done that Congress could have access to when it is done about the good, the bad, and how we need to improve going forward?
Senator, it's my understanding that there is something being studied. If confirmed, obviously that will be one of the things that I will look into. Joint logistics over the shore in its totality is something that Transcom would support in some form or another. And this committee would be looking to me to make sure that we were able to actually get that done. And so, yes, Senator, I will look into that and I will provide information to this.
And I know entities other than Transcom obviously were key to this. CENTCOM, it was a lot of people that weren't, a lot of parts of the DoD family that were involved, but I think we need some answers about it. And in particular, the last piece, what do we need to do to improve going forward? Let me ask you this. The 2020 NDAA guaranteed there would be 60 congressionally funded operating agreements for the Maritime Security Program, and it extended existing agreements through September 30, 2025, a year from now. All 60 agreements are currently filled. As you're already aware, the MSP provides a retainer incentive to ensure that there are vessels available in times of national need. If confirmed, how do you plan to ensure that the MSP is appropriately resourced to meet our strategic needs?
Senator, that's an outstanding program that we have to make sure that when the nation needs to move in a decisive manner, that we can ship things by sea. Under that program, where we have access to commercial ships, these ships register, they actually want to participate with us. If confirmed, one of the things that I will do is to make sure that I strengthen the relationships that we have and that we continue to inspire them to serve.
Thank you. And General Brunson, on the subject of negotiating agreements, the last round of negotiations on the U.S.-Korea Special Measures Agreement were tough, and they put some strain on one of our most important relationships. The current agreement that was negotiated is due to expire next year. Thus, more negotiations are underway to complete that. I don't want to ask you to get into the politics of the negotiations, but can you just highlight for the committee the importance of the relationship and the need to find a path forward to reach an agreement that will be good for all parties?
Yes, Senator. Of course, I'm not a negotiator. I'm not negotiating that agreement at all. The State Department is well involved in that. But what I will tell you is, as a Corps commander, the things that I have seen. I've seen Camp Humphreys and the housing that's available to our families there, the resources that are available to those families there, much of that done by the Korean government. I also know, sir, for a fact, that when you look at APS-4, for example, and that's maintained by Korean workers there, and it's maintained in such a high state of readiness that the soldiers I talked to, I don't think we have any members from Texas here, but the soldiers I talked to from Fort Bliss preferred the vehicles they used on the Adria in the most recent large-scale exercise than they do those back home. Mm-hmm. And so if I give you those two data points right there, that those soldiers are absolutely fired up about the equipment that they're able to use that is maintained by Koreans, that when we look at the facilities that we have at a place like Camp Humphreys that are far better than some on my current installation, I think that there's much to be said, and those are the data points that I, as an operational commander, currently look at when I look at that situation, Senator.
Well, as I conclude, you make a good point that you're not the negotiator, but the progress of that negotiation is going to have a huge impact on your ability to do your job and do it well. So we'll push the State Department and everybody to conclude a deal that is very, very positive for the U.S. and Korea. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kane. Senator Cotton, please.
Gentlemen, welcome. Congratulations on your nomination. General Reed, I want to associate myself with everything Senator Kane just said about the debacle of using that pier to try to supply Gaza, with the exception that it was Israel's responsibility. It's neither our responsibility nor Israel's responsibility to provide for the people of Gaza. That would be Hamas, the de facto governing authority of it. You said there's already an after-action review underway. That's your understanding, is that correct?
Senator, it's my understanding that folks are looking at it. If confirmed, I'll have visibility on how folks are looking at that. Exactly what's being done, I would have to defer to CENTCOM.
Okay, that's fine. But can we move from understanding to your commitment, whatever it is that you find is underway, that you're committed to actually having an after-action review that you'll report back to this committee either in person or with a written report?
Senator, I'm committing to this committee, if confirmed in my position as Transcom, to share with you what I discover and the impacts of that from Transcom.
Okay, thank you. Military Sea Lift Command recently announced plans to sideline 17 logistic ships because of a shortage of merchant mariners. Can you explain to us how the loss of those 17 ships might degrade Transcom's ability to sustain military operations, both peacetime and wartime?
Senator, what I can share with you on that is, being from the air component, what I understand is that there is a little bit of an adjustment to make sure that the crews are available, can crew the ships. For the details of that, actually, I would have to defer to the Department of the United States Navy for that.
Okay. If confirmed, can you come back to us after, say, 60 or 90 days with an answer about what you think the loss of those 17 ships means for our ability to sustain operations?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. General Brunson, I want to speak about landmines. Landmines have been a critical part of defending the Korean Peninsula for decades now, essential to assuring that North Korea doesn't sweep into South Korea. The South Korean government has also stressed the importance of landmines. Do you agree that landmines continue to fulfill a critical battlefield need on the peninsula?
Senator, having been up on the DMZ recently, they perform a very useful purpose where they are laid in the demilitarized zone, as you well know, sir. So yes, okay. I do believe they serve a purpose.
And you believe that we should continue to employ them in that way at the DMZ?
Senator, I believe that if confirmed, what I would do is continue to assess that. If there are other means to mitigate that, to serve the same purpose and role that they are currently, then I'll look at that. But I believe that right now that they are serving the purpose they were intended for.
Are you aware of any other potential means besides the landmines? I'm not. I'm curious in your professional military judgment.
Well, sir, yes. And I'm just going to take that for a question. There are one-way munitions and things like that could be used to provide the same purpose, sir.
Okay. The reason I ask is that some people, to include some senators, but certainly some nations, believe that we should withdraw all landmines and not use them anymore. And that may be nice if you live in Europe and think you're behind the gates of paradise, but someone has to guard the gates around the world. North Korea has gotten more aggressive lately. They violated sanctions by sending all those missiles and munitions to Russia, fired ballistic missiles in the Sea of North Korea, and they just recently decided to reveal their uranium enrichment facility for the first time. Why do you think they did that?
Senator, one of the things I think that continues to go on is, especially in the more ephemeral domains, EW, cyber, is we continue to maneuver in those spaces. And I think North Korea, in revealing something that they've generally hidden for years and years and years, is trying to maneuver in the information space. And to that end, if I'm confirmed, I have to take a look at how are we maneuvering in the information space to counter the narratives that are put forward by that. That causes tectonic shifts amongst the Korean people when they see another facility, because we all know that a facility that you can process uranium in is a facility that you can make warheads in. And so I think that by working closely with not only those within the embassy spaces, but also working alongside Indo-PACOM and even U.S. Army Pacific, I think that we can get toward alleviating some of the things that are being done there. For example, there's a theater information unit within U.S. Army Pacific, and those exist across our Army, First IO Command and others that can help us to message appropriately that we might maneuver as well. Any maneuver is met with other maneuver, and so we've got to meet them in that space and alleviate some of those challenges.
Thank you. If I could conclude about the Brunson family. I know military service is often a family affair in this country, but so your father, Sergeant Major Brunson, was a veteran of both Vietnam and the Gulf War. And Sergeant Major Brunson and Mrs. Brunson, you've raised 3 sons who have now all rose to the rank of colonel and general officer. I just want to say it's a remarkable testament to you as parents. You must raise your kids right. And to all those families out there who don't come from a family like the Brunsons. If you have any doubts about your child serving in our armed services, then you should look at what Sergeant Major and Mrs. Brunson have raised and know that it's a great choice for your family at a time when we're struggling to recruit who we need. We need more parents like Sergeant Major and Mrs. Brunson to encourage their kids to take the path you all have taken and serve this nation. So kudos to you.
Thank you, Senator Cotton. Senator Hirono, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to both of you on your nominations, and aloha to your families who are here. I asked the following two initial questions of all nominees who come before any of my committees. And so I will ask you, and if you can respond first, General Reed and then General Brunson. Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, I have not.
No, I have not.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement related to this kind of conduct?
No, I have not.
No, I have not.
For General Reed, U.S. Transcom's ability to project and sustain military power around the globe is one of our asymmetric advantages. However, that advantage is at risk given the delayed recapitalization of the Ready Reserve Force. General Reed, one solution, if you can call it that, of expensive solution, to this issue is bolstering our domestic shipbuilding capacity and making these ships in the United States. Another is giving the Navy authority to purchase more used vessels built in foreign shipyards. For example, the current version of the FY25 Senate NDAA increases that buying authority from 9 to 12 ships. What do you think is the right approach, particularly for the long term?
Senator, thank you for that question. For Sealift is fundamental to what we do. This country has always been great primarily because we've been able to sail the seas. And as we go forward, we need to maintain the capability to do just that. The ages of our ships continue to increase. We have fantastic crews to cruise the ships. We do need to do some more work to recruit more. However, I think it would be easier to recruit more if we could get them newer equipment. And so to whatever we can do to bring down the ages of the ships, whatever we can do to put ships that are easier to repair would absolutely help. So in that regard, I know that that we've received permission to buy used. That's for the near term. In my view, as an airman, that would also help shipbuilding because that would actually put equipment in the shipyards to get people trained. And when we have the opportunity to actually buy new, then we actually have the industrial base to do that as well. So if confirmed as a Transcom commander, I will ask all, give us as much as we can get, whether it's used or new.
The difficulty is that there was a time when we had a much greater shipbuilding capacity in our own country, and as the shipyards closed, we're in the position of where you are, where we have to buy ships from that are produced by other countries. So I think in the long term, I would really welcome. Basically, the DoD should be thinking about how we can increase our domestic shipbuilding capacity. I think it's an expensive proposition, but one that's worth pursuing. For General Brunson, we continue to hear about the importance of allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific, and you responded to what you would do if confirmed to make sure that our relationships with Japan and the Republic of Korea stay very strong. What other relationships in the region would you prioritize to deter North Korean aggression?
Yes, Senator. One of the things that I've found over the 3 years that I've been a Corps commander in the Pacific is sort of like the field of dreams. When we have exercises, if we put the exercises together and we make means for people to contribute to those exercises in substantive ways, they continue to show up. So what we've got to look is more multilateralism in our exercises to make room for our partners to participate in significant ways. Our posture is achieved by the locations where our partners are. That's how we have posture in the region. I also believe that when we look at the difference in capacities, we can't be bound by that. We have to also understand that there are 3 levels of interoperability. Technological interoperability is the height, because we're asking you to use your resources to do things somewhere. But human and procedural interoperability are the things that we have to really focus on in the region to ensure that others show. Japan and Korea are great examples of nations which are magnets because of the exercises that they host in the space they make for other partners. We just did an exercise, Talisman Sabre, last year, Senator, where the year prior, there were 4 nations there. Australia and the U.S. were 2 of 4. Last year, we had 15 nations there. Everyone from Papua New Guinea to Indonesia was there, but they were able to participate in substantive ways because we made space for them by ensuring that we could communicate in a secure fashion.
I think that's very important. My time is running out, but beyond Japan and Korea, you have the Philippines, you have in the Indo-Pacific region, of course, Australia, New Zealand, India. So there are a lot of other countries and island nations that I think we should be conducting activities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Orono. Senator Kramer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, General Reed, General Brunson, for your service and for your willingness to keep going. We need you badly, and thank you for stepping in the gap. And congratulations to both of you. General Brunson, you may know, or you may not, but you may know that in North Dakota, not only do we have 2 of the 3 legs of the nuclear triad based at Minot, but we have 2 very important ISR bases. In Grand Forks, the 319th Reconnaissance Wing flies RQ-4s, a lot of them in the area that you're going. And then the 119th National Guard in Fargo flies MQ-9s around the world. In recent years, and in future years, it seems the Air Force is aggressively retiring some of these legacy systems with not a lot to replace them. And I would just be interested in any thoughts you have about ISR needs in the Indo-PACOM area and certainly the peninsula specifically, and whether those needs are being met, what you see going forward as capacity, and just your general thoughts on airborne ISR and its availability to the fight.
Yes, Senator. So when I look at the needs right now, as an operational commander, I believe that General LaCamera has what he needs right now to help him to best understand his operating environment, which now stretches in USFK, a joint command. He's looking at the EEZ, the exclusive economic zone. He's looking at the northern limit line. He's got to see all these things, and ISR is a technical means that allows him to see those things so that he might best understand his operating environment. I will tell you that if confirmed and allowed to serve, or given the opportunity to serve as a commander of the tri-commands, that I would do much the same, is continue to assess the needs of ISR that's meeting the requirements that we have across domains, the physical domains in the KTO Center.
Well, along the same lines, then, obviously, space is becoming more and more, we're becoming more dependent on space for ISR. Could you elaborate a little bit on your relationship with General Whiting at Space Command, General Saltzman at Space Force, how you see the integration of space, and whether or not that can fill the gap either in the short, mid, or long term for ISR demand?
Senator, I think space can do a great many things for us. As you know, there's a Space Force component in the headquarters at USFK. I think it can give us a great many things, but as the Army has learned over time, there's a need for a little bit more granularity than the bigger platforms of days gone by. And I think that, not to speak for services, but I know that we're achieving great results as we continue to campaign through the Pacific and Operation Pathways by using small aperture UAS quadcopters and the like to be able to provide the granularity needed to finish actions. The find and the fix can be done by larger assets, but when it comes time to finish, which is the aim of our operations when we're on the ground, it takes something a little bit smaller. And I think that also as communications and our ability to see and understand our environments continues to improve, I think we're finding other ways to get at the information, the intelligence that we need to drive operations.
Thank you. General Reed, Senator Kelly and I last week launched a new caucus called the Military Modernization Caucus. And what we're looking at is how do we do things at the speed of the enemy, at the speed of China especially, given the big bureaucracy and some of the cumbersome clumsiness of our system. By the way, certainly at the Department of Defense, but that would include Congress, I would say. As you look at your new mission soon, or your new job soon, can you think of any gaps in technology or modernization demands that we could be helpful with? And along the same lines, what can we be helpful with as Congress when it comes to getting you what you need? I very much appreciated your conversation with Senator Rono just a little bit ago. I found it very helpful. As Senator Kane and I are co-lead the Sea Power Subcommittee. But in the airspace especially, there's probably some things we could be doing better and differently. Anything you can think of in a modernization category?
Senator, I'd like to begin from where I'm sitting now from an air component perspective, and being connected to the joint force is very, very critical. Not just to be able to talk to others and not just being able to make sure that that they can talk to us, but the bottom line is that equates to survivability. So when the force is connected and we're able to determine what's going on in the space, where is red, where is blue, where is the need, then we can make decisions at the speed of the war to actually outmaneuver the adversary. If confirmed, moving to TRANSCOM, there is certainly room to get the rest of the force connected as well, because again, that equates to survivability.
Very well said. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Kramer. Senator King, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to associate myself with Senator Cotton's comments. I haven't seen so many stars in one place since the last clear night in Maine. I want to compliment the Brunson family for what you've achieved and the service you're providing to the country. General Reed, for want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of the shoe, the horse was lost. For want of the horse, the rider was lost. For want of the rider, the message was lost. For want of the message, the battle was lost. For want of the battle, the country was lost, all because of the loss of one nail. I'm deeply worried about the adequacy of the industrial base, but also of the system that you have with private sector partners. And I hope that there is a profound testing process, a red team process, because in time of conflict, the first attack is going to be on our logistics. Do you believe that the command is up to that challenge? And are you taking steps to ensure that it's up to that challenge?
Senator, once again, I'll begin from an air component perspective. So from where we sit now with the funds that we have, we are very heavy into experimentation. We are actively seeking technologies that are available today, not necessarily things that are available in the future. Data is one area where we have looked very deeply into machine learning, artificial intelligence, being able to what we call sense and seize. So the better we're able to sense the environment, seize on the opportunities to actually get things done. From there, we've been looking to transition to airborne tests to see how can we get connected to the joint force, not just line of sight, but beyond as well. And then from there, how can we fast track some of this to the actual platforms? Obviously, if confirmed, running this to scale in TRANSCOM would be key. I must be quick to mention also that Transcom itself has been very supportive of us, and they are doing much the same.
Well, let me suggest, as several others have, if there are deficiencies, if you red team and assess your capacity and find it wanting, come to this committee. We don't want to be having hearings after the fact as why didn't we have sufficient air transportation or maritime transportation. And that moves me to the next topic, which is cyber. CIOs always say, yeah, we're okay, we're protected. You won't know that until you test it. And cyber, again, to go back to a conflict, is going to be the first step. So I think the cyber capacity and resiliency of your system is going to be of utmost importance and utmost vulnerability.
Senator, yes, indeed it is. Just within the last few months, I had an opportunity to join Transcom itself in a 2 to 3 day session here in the area at Fort Meade. And during that time with Cybercom, I got exposed to a tremendous amount of work that's already underway. If confirmed, I'll be privy to more of that, and certainly something that's very important for us.
Thank you. I'm going to follow up on several questions about moves in rural areas. We're worried about our Coast Guard personnel in Maine, where the adequacy of the household goods is a problem. General Brunson, the danger of accidental conflict in the Indo-Pacific. It's one of the things I worry the most about. A hot dog Chinese pilot miscalculates and takes the bridge off of a destroyer. How do you assess that risk, and do we have the infrastructure in place to communicate with the Chinese or the North Koreans that what is happening isn't a provocation, it's an accident?
Senator, the risk of miscalculation, it's ever present in the Pacific. As wide and as vast as the Pacific is, we still find ourselves, whether it be in the West Philippine Sea, with ships running into one another, or it be along the exclusive economic zone there in the KTO. And I think that there are ample means of connection amongst leaders.
Is there a hotline with North Korea, for example, or with? I understand there's been discussion with China on this issue, but nobody answers the phone.
Senator, I can't answer that right now. I do know that up in Panmunjom, there's an area that's meant for face-to-face consultation if needed. But at this current time, it's not within the realm of my duties to know that.
I hope when you take over your new duties, that's something you'll look into, because accidental conflict is a serious potential problem, and one way to resolve that is some kind of deconfliction infrastructure, which I hope you'll pursue both from your point of view, but also within the Department of Defense and the administration.
Senator, if confirmed, I will.
Well, thank you very much. And one comment on household moves. I used to work for a company that moved household goods for service people. I have been known to carry a few boxes. I recommend boxes with lampshades rather than books. That was my experience. But one military spouse told me years ago that they considered 7 moves equals a fire. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Senator King. Senator Budd, please.
Thank you, Chairman. General Brunson, I was reading your remarks, was able to listen to them, and I think it bears repeating the more than 130 years of combined service of your family, starting with your dad, retired Sergeant Major Brunson, and continue with you, your brothers, and your wife. You set a great example, so thank you. Now, if I understand correctly, you were born and raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Yes,
I didn't see that in your remarks, but if you could, talk a little bit about the time that you've served, I think even with your brothers, maybe all of you were there at one point. Tell us a little bit about what you learned growing up in North Carolina, and some of the values you're going to bring into this job, if confirmed.
Yes, Senator, thank you for your recognition of my family. very important to me. That's a thing I learned in North Carolina. I also learned in Cumberland County how to pick strawberries without crushing them, and that if you get your bucket filled faster, you can eat more than the folks that are putting their buckets up on the truck. My grandmother taught me industry early on in my life, so I know what it's like to pick cucumbers or pick strawberries and cabbage and everything else. What I learned in North Carolina is industry, that if you work for it, you can get it, you can have it. I learned early on as well that the great state of North Carolina and the great people of North Carolina are very forgiving. And I think that one of the things that I have on my desk speaks to North Carolina. It says, do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. And that's what I've always found. My wife and I, as we've moved around in the Army, have often thought, number one, there's no sweet tea here. And number two, folks just aren't like Carolina people. There used to be a WRAL commercial a long time ago that said, I like calling North Carolina home. And that's what it was for me. What I also learned militarily is that the center of the universe, as it used to be called at Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty, there are a host of forces there, both airborne and special operations, who come together to achieve great effect for our nation. And I've tried to template that on everything in every unit I've been to include currently within my Corps, trying to ensure that First Corps can place combat credible forces west of the IDL. I think that's my part of the job. That's my part of the task. I learned that in North Carolina because integrated assurance for our partners is just as important as the deterrence piece. There are policymakers and more senior leaders who will ensure that deterrence is in alignment, that we can do things like extended deterrence. But my job as an operational commander currently is to assure our friends, partners, and allies that we will be there, we'll be present, we'll be engaged, we'll continue to foster human and procedural interoperability to allow them to live and thrive in a free and open Indo-Pacific. Sir.
Thank you, General. So what do you, as you look at the growing adversary relationship with China, Russia, North Korea, what does that growing relationship between our adversaries, what challenges and opportunities does that present?
Yes, sir. So, Senator, one of the things I look at is where are the fissures in those relationships? Yeah. There is no true alignment of what, and I'll just say simply, Senator, we are the partner of choice for a reason. Because we look at, as a nation, we generally look at the interest of those we're working alongside, and where that intersection lies, we begin to work from, that's our point of departure on building a relationship. The relationship between the DPRK, China, and Russia seems to be far more quid pro quo. This is what we need, this is what we're gonna give you in return. I had a great conversation with Chairman Reed yesterday, and we talked about one of the things that's just as important as what's going out is what's coming back in. And I think that's where we have to become more astute in being able to divine what our enemies are doing, what they're receiving, what might come of those things. But I think that being the partner of choice in the region is really what we're after, sir.
Thank you, General. General Reed, again, thank you for being here, and congratulations on your nomination. So if confirmed, you'd have responsibility for Military Ocean Terminal Sunny Point in North Carolina, the largest military terminal in the world and a critical ammunition shipping point on the East Coast. So if confirmed, do you commit to staying in close touch to ensure Sunny Point's infrastructure and systems remain modern, cyber resilient, and physically secure?
Yes, Senator, I do. It's vital for us.
Well, thank you. I look forward to many conversations about that and hopefully working together with both of you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Senator Butt. Senator Duckworth, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to both of our witnesses. Welcome to you and your families, and congratulations on your nominations. General Reed, thank you for our conversation last week, and if confirmed, I look forward to working with you to ensure that TRANSCOM is resourced at the levels necessary to project and sustain the joint force that at our nation's choosing. This ability is key to our strategic deterrence, especially in the Indo-Pacific AOR. I am very proud of TRANSCOM, proud to host it in my home state with its headquarters there at Scott Air Force Base. I am the fiercest advocate for TRANSCOM on this committee and the work that you are doing there at TRANSCOM to support operations around the globe, including in Ukraine, the Middle East, and Indo-Pacific region is second to none. Now, as the Global Patient Movement Manager for DoD, TRANSCOM has a vital role in providing medical care for our service members through designated aeromedical evacuation hubs and patient reception areas. This role is critical for moving a large number of service members from overseas theaters to treatment centers in CONUS. I've discussed the need to improve DoD's medical readiness in the Indo-Pacific with every service chief and combatant commander who comes before this committee. And I would like to discuss my FY25 NDAA proposal to create an Indo-Pacific Medical Readiness Program, and it was included in the SASC committee markup. This proposal would address current gaps in the DoD's medical capacity in the Indo-Pacific region. It is aimed at ensuring our nation's service members, as well as their families, have access to high-quality U.S. standard medical care throughout the region. The program would authorize DoD to access foreign medical facilities in the Indo-Pacific, and DoD would work with our allies and partners to accredit those facilities, thus increasing the number of available medical facilities DoD personnel would have access to during peacetime and in the event of a conflict abroad. I'm going to direct my question first at General Brunson. General Brunson, DoD already has a version of this in the Republic of Korea. In fact, it is the only place where we have this arrangement. In fact, the United States helped set up the Aju Trauma Center in Suwon, and it was modeled like a U.S. trauma center because there is a doctor there, Dr. Lee Guk-jong, who received training from U.S. surgeons, and he set up this level 1 trauma center there to U.S. standards and is JCO certified. And in 2017, he was able to leverage that training that he received in the U.S. to treat the North Korean soldier who defected at the Aju Trauma Center, saving his life. General Brunson, if confirmed, can you speak to how you would leverage my Indo-Pacific Medical Readiness Program and speak to the significance of DoD having access to ROK medical facilities that meet U.S. standards in the event of a kinetic conflict?
Yes, Senator. One of the things that we are trying to even work now at Joint Base Lewis McChord is the impact of care being needed for our service members, their families, and our veterans in a hospital that is a magnet for the state of Washington, and how we might also replicate role 2 and 1 and 3s forward in the theater, because as you know, the distances are great. The need for host nation medical care is something that's also got to be assessed. And Senator, if I'm confirmed, I will continue to assess the location and the depth with which and the services provided, because DHA is also over on the peninsula, and we've got to tie all that together in a means that's sustainable. Because we need it in competition, we need it in conflict, and we will certainly need it when crisis arises.
And it would be another way for us to forge even closer bonds if we are using this process to have our military medical personnel work with their military medical personnel and have that habitual training relationship in that area.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. General Reed, if confirmed, can you commit to ensuring that my Indo-Pacific Medical Readiness Program will be a priority for TRANSCOM?
Absolutely, Senator. Having served abroad with the family and without, and having served abroad in a place where there's no base, this would be very welcome.
Thank you. And if confirmed, how will you work with INDOPACOM to ensure we continue exercising aeromedical evacuation patient movement routes with our allies and partners in the region, including our ASEAN partners?
Senator, if confirmed, I don't think that will be much of an issue. I think the theater will find it very welcome that we will want to partner with them in that. Last summer, as a matter of fact, we did just that. We participated with them across the entire summer. And in that, we were with 7 partner nations. And one of the primary things that we worked on was aeromedical evacuation. During that time, not only did we train together and fly sorties together, but we were able to use each other's equipment, and it was very, very, very helpful.
Thank you. And I look forward, I'm out of time, but I am looking forward to discussing with you about your key priorities for improving surface distribution, logistics within the continental U.S., specifically with regard to rail and the commercial trucking industry, and how timely movement of supplies to ports will be critical in the event of conflict in the Indo-Pacific region. But we'll take that offline once you're confirmed. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.